role that's been all the more politicized since even when you were on the council and dealing with past superintendents. I mean, has Dr. Weiss kind of elevated that position politically in some ways in terms of his aggressiveness and the headbutting that he's done with you and with the council?
Yeah, I think he has. But I don't see that that has been harmful. At the end of the day, the fact that we've had the sometimes bruising fights and he has been aggressive, at the end of the day, what have been the results of that dialogue or that discussion of those fights? Everyone has prioritized education appropriately. It's over 50% of our budget. We all want the same thing, and we fight for how to get there. And that sometimes could be a rather bruising fight. Politics at this level is not a non-contact sport. You know, it's, I'm one who is not the person who gets out and creates and like to be engaged in fights, but I know that on occasion there are differences and people have to fight for what they believe in. And I think that he has done that, and sometimes he's done it effectively. Sometimes he's probably rubbed me the wrong way in his aggressiveness in doing it. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather have a superintendent who's engaged in that kind of a fight, who's advancing the plight of education for all of our kids. And we can deal with the differences about how we may be bruised one way or another later.
Governor has made school construction a priority for his first term. He's made some pledges in terms of what will be there for his second term. Though with the financial realities, it's not going to be probably on par with the $400 million that he put aside the first few years. Local community issue, overcrowding in a number of schools. In Rockville, we hear a lot about the Richmond-Montgomery cluster and the fact that they're bursting at the seams in their schools. What can the county do to try to ameliorate some of that, especially at a time when the school system and the city of Rockville are butting heads over new portables coming in and just trying to figure out how to address the issue?
Well, if you go back to my budget last year, I increased the budget by 17% for modernization of four major schools, for expansion, and for facilities upgrade. So we've put in place a CIP designed to address as much of that as we can reasonably do. So we have not built all of those schools, we have not made all the expansions, but it's in the budget, and they are in the process now of doing that. The other part of the problem comes as a result of some aging facilities that need to be upgraded. And it comes as a result of the economic downturn. And what I mean by that is this, is that we've had growth by way of immigration to occur in the county that we just talked about a moment ago. But we've had migration, that is, students moving from the private school system into the public schools. Why are they doing that? Because of the economy. You know, it's difficult to afford a $10,000, $15,000 a year tuition if you're unemployed or you've got some challenges financially. And so that has impacted us. So we have to get the employment situation, the economy moving, and that will have an impact on that sort of migration that we have. But I think that we've moved forward in an aggressive way to try to respond to the challenge. There was a 17% increase for public school construction last year that we advanced, designed to meet the very strong challenges that you've just described for school.
And you expect if the economy improves that more of the students will be going back towards the private schools?
Yeah, but it still will be overcrowded. Now, I do have a challenge that I've had for years with the school system. If you look at the level of modernizations that we have for schools, or renovations for schools, most times, almost every time, it's a complete new school. And Richard Montgomery here, I think it's about $110, $115 million. I think that we can do those cheaper, and I don't think that we need to level the school to the ground, start all over, and basically build a new school every time. That may be warranted in a few cases, but our model for the most part has been nearly a complete renovation. And I think that we can use simpler designs, and we could do it cheaper. So that's one of the problems that I have a challenge with the school system, that our modernization renovations are so extensive, so expensive, that I think they could be done cheaper. But you get strong community action, strong input by the parents and others, PTA, to say, you know, we want a school with all the bells and whistles. Now, clearly there's some things you need to have in a school. They need to be modernized to have the upgraded electrical systems so that it can handle the newer computers and the wiring and those kinds of things. They need to accommodate the requirements for handicapped students and others, those kinds of things. And so there's a lot that goes into a school that we didn't have before. But there's a big difference between meeting those basic needs and what we ultimately build.
Can they be built faster? The City Council in Rockville is looking at the Richard Montgomery cluster and a new school that Dr. West has proposed for Hungerford Park to alleviate some of the crowding at College Gardens. And the concerns of the community and the concerns of the City Council is that it's going to take 5 to 6 years to get this thing built, best case scenario. And the need is there now, and it's only going to grow in those 5 to 6 years. Is there a way to do it quickly as well as
Sure. If you put more money in, you could advance all of these projects. A project that's in year 3 or 4, you put more money in, you could do it in year 1 or 2. If there's other funding available, if, as you said before, the governor is able to come forward with high amounts of monies for the capital program, you know, there are many things that could happen that could advance that, but all of those require additional revenue. And I don't think they would have a problem if the additional revenues are there to advance projects where they think that there's a greater need. But it requires additional revenue. I'm sorry.
You're getting blinded there. Anybody else?
Okay, again, thank you for this opportunity to meet with you and to share some of these views. As I said before, get an opportunity, you need to really look at this challenge with the deficit, the impact of the fee this year, next year, and the need to have a savings plan that adjusts that. And what I'm saying, even if you don't agree with my recommendation, not to recommend anything and to bury your head in the sand and assume that you don't have to do anything, and to simply wait and too long, I think is not the responsible thing to do. These are real numbers. The $14 million is actually in the budget now, and the $14 million is in the budget that we're about to propose. That's $28 million on top of everything else. And having the sort of hope, and I hope that we are, that I wish we could get tons and tons of money that would alleviate all of this. But at the end of the day, there are so many things that we have to do to make up that it's going to be very difficult for us not to have a savings plan and for us not to aggressively deal with this sooner than later. Okay.